Father Time viewers. Today we are really excited to welcome singer, songwriter, author, Sonia Manzano. Hi, Sonia, how are you?
I'm great, thank you.
Where are you dialing in from?
I'm dialing in from the Upper West Side in New York City.
How cool. How's the weather there?
Well, it's a little clammy today, but it's not raining, and I think we're having a nice end of summer here.
Oh yeah, we got a little bit of summer this week. It's about 105 degrees out here.
That's too much. That's too much.
Today we're here to talk to you about Almas Way, season 2. What's your involvement with Almas Way?
Well, some years ago, PBS asked me to create a show based on a Latinx family, an animated series, and of course I jumped at the opportunity, and I looked around me and I wondered what kids needed, because PBS did leave the mission of the show up to me, and I saw that kids nowadays are under a lot of pressure. We expect a lot from them. We want them to memorize. We want them to pass tests. We want them to have kindergarten on the internet. And a lot of kids who can't pass tests and can't memorize were thinking they weren't smart. So I thought, well, we could sort of do a show where we illustrate to children that everybody has a brain and everybody can think, regardless of whether you can pass a test or memorize data. And that's what Almas Way is about. Of course, I placed it in the Bronx because that's where I'm from, and that's where my memories are fresh and lively.
Oh, I was lucky enough to capture and see some of these. The two we're going to talk about today. The first one is called Justice, Sonia and Judge Alma. Let's talk about the special guests on that one.
Well, I'm thrilled to be able to say that the other Sonia from the Bronx, Supreme Court Justice Justice Sotomayor, agreed to be a guest on Almas Way. And I've met her. I met her previously. Obviously, I know her, and I was able to ask her to participate in the show. So she's opening our second season of Almas Way, and there are two shows. I wrote one of them where Alma learns to stick up for what she thinks is right, and it's right in the mission of the show, where Alma's forced to separate one idea from another. And the other show, she's got call a baseball play as she sees it, and also stand up for her rights. So that's a very exciting to air those shows in September.
Yeah, it's such a great episode about rules and how to be fair. I think it's an amazing episode to show kids making decisions by listening and asking questions.
Right. So, the justice was very helpful in her comments about, why a shorter kid might be at a disadvantage and a taller kid might have the advantage in a situation, and how you could take that into play. I mean, it sounds very sophisticated, but really we broke it down into little bits that our audience can understand.
How did the two of you feel about, or did she feel, Justice, about what she looked like as an animated cartoon?
Well, we all go through, gee, is that what I want to look like as an animated cartoon? But we gave her a couple of choices. We looked at the animators pipeline, animation studios in Canada, kind of from her photos of her, created an image that she was happy with.
And was that, whose idea was it about throwing out the baseball at the game?
Well, that was mine. I mean, she made such an impression by going to the Bronx, and it was Met Stadium that she threw out the pitch in reality. But I mean, she seemed so kind of part of the community when she played baseball. So I thought, perfect. We have a baseball stadium in Almas Way called Sweat Sox Stadium. So I thought we could bring her back to the Bronx. And I don't know if you noticed the opening shot of the episode. She's standing in front of the building, the housing project that she lived in as a kid in the Bronx, and we tried to emulate that in the show.
I did see it, but I wasn't sure. I was going to ask you. You know, this is the series is based on you as a kid growing up too.
Yes, yes, it's lots of the characters are based on my family or characters that I knew. Of course, it's updated. I lived in the Bronx in the late early mid 60s is when I left. So of course the Bronx has changed a lot, but the number 6 train is sort of a Puerto Rican icon, I'd say. It's Puerto Ricans sing about it and they talk about it, and it's in many Puerto Ricans' lives. So there's the number 6 train in the show, and neighborhoods that are familiar to me.
Yeah, I'm watching it, you know, and I like to see the background. I'm a background person, and I'm like, oh, look at there goes the train, you know, going across, and you know, stuff like that. Are those your decisions to put that stuff in?
Yes, yes, a lot of them are my decisions, and also I have to thank Ellen Doherty at Fred Rogers Productions. You know, Sesame Street was sort of in Harlem. I mean, that was the image. You would assume that it was a brownstone in Harlem, but we never really gave it an address. And I thought we'd go that same route with Almas Way, but Ellen Doherty said, no, if we're going to do it in the Bronx, let's really do it in the Bronx. And I said, well, then we have to do the real number 6 train because that's a real place. You have to be very careful because you don't want people saying, oh, I live there and that wasn't a stop on that train or anything like that, because then you're painting yourself into a corner. But those a real icon is the number 6 train, and I took it to school. J-Lo took it to school. Ruben Blades wrote a song about it when I was a kid, so it's popular.
So the characters who are on the show, Alma's Way, are those, like I said, characters from kids that you knew growing up, or?
Yes, I have a cousin, Eddie Guagua Rivera, who was a well-known salsa bass player, and we were very close. And Eddie Mambo is based on him. Now, who's my cousin who's Alma's cousin on the show. Now, I also was friends with a kid named Dennis who had polio and he wore braces. And this kid was a great dancer. I mean, he would just lock his braces in place and twirl all his partners around. So Eddie Mambo is a combination of my cousin and this kid that I knew that had polio, who was a fanatic of mambo dancing. And I was also pleased to introduce an Afro Puerto Rican in the father of Alma, because Puerto Ricans are mixed races, and a lot of mixed races in the same family. So we put a lot of effort into making sure that there's a lot of different skin tones, as there were many skin tones in my own family.
I know, I like that diversity. It was really cool, you know, and I like the scene where the kids were on the basketball court, and the one kid, and I love how you show him being artistic with the chalk.
Yeah, as there's a lot of chalk art in the city everywhere, so that was a great way of illustrating that. We also have, the Bronx is so rich in music that we try to have as many different musical styles as possible. Obviously, hip hop and rap wasn't popular when I was growing up, but it certainly is something that defines the Bronx, and we really thought it was important to have that as well.
And let's talk about of course, in animation, you still have a cast. Let's talk about the cast. Like, who did you choose to pick Alma?
Summer Rose Castillo plays Alma. She was a great find. She actually did a little rap in her audition, and I think that's what caught our eye. She wrote a little rap about her school. She happens to be from the Bronx as well, so that was an added attraction, and she's just worked out fabulously.
Yeah, she's really a character. She really brings it to life.
Yep. And all of the adults are terrific New York City actors. We wanted them to be from the city, so they would have that kind of swag that New Yorkers have, and that comes through in the show, I think.
Yeah, I saw season 2 is going to kick off on September 18th, which is in honor of Hispanic Heritage Month as well.
Yes, yeah. As you know, there's lots of different kinds of Latin people in New York City, so I'm really happy that we have a Dominican man who sells from a food truck, and he has a very distinct Dominican accent. But as you said, and as you noted, these are background people. The main mission of the show is to show the thought process that Alma might have.
Yeah, very well done. My grandson, he's 4. He has a crush on Alma.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, people seem to relate to her, and some kids have even mentioned her cute little hoop earrings.
Well, his mother, my daughter-in-law, is Puerto Rican, and so she watches it with them. So, you know.
Yeah. We were careful about having wonderful Latin Caribbean body types, and I think that the mommy in Alma's Way really illustrates that.
So what are you currently working on?
Besides Alma's Way?
Yes.
Besides Alma's Way, well, I just released a book with Scholastic called Coming Up Cuban. Obviously, I'm not Cuban. My smart aleck sister came up to me and said, I didn't know you were Cuban, but and it's a young adult novel about what happens to 4 different children when Fidel Castro took over Cuba in 1959. So it's a historical fiction, and it was just released in August.
I'll have to get myself a copy of that. When did you discover you wanted to do that book?
It was a strange little story. I was at a party, and a man said, he was talking about his life, and he said that when he was a kid, his parents had a chicken farm in Cuba, and but when Castro nationalized everything, he was about 5 years old. He said, oh, we had to leave everything immediately. The chicken farm, my dog, we left. And I said, oh, how sad that you left your dog behind. And he says, no, the dog showed up a month later in a boat in Miami. This is a true story. I couldn't believe it. So it stayed in my mind, and I thought it would make a charming picture book, but my editor at Scholastic said, investigate more about what happened to young people at that moment when they had to leave immediately or change their lifestyle within a month. And so I did. And so that's, once you fall into this hole of research, I decided to expand it and write about what happened to these 4 children. So it must be last August.
Well, we'll have to put a link for that book. Sounds
Yeah.
amazing. Sounds amazing.
Thank you.
Well, we do appreciate you taking the time. We're so excited for this Alma's Way for season 2, PBS KIDS. How exciting.
Thank you so much. And we have other great shows. There's a musical episode where there's all kinds of different music that will be featured. We have to sort of live up to our theme song, which is such a great theme song that was written by Bill Sherman and Lin-Manuel Miranda. And kind of set the tone for the musical level of the show, which, coming from Sesame Street, was pretty high. And we want to keep that up too.
And I hear the show is kind of moved to like Toronto, where they do the actual animation now.
Yes, it's in Pipeline Studios is in Toronto, but I was very happy that Fred Rogers Productions thought it was important enough to bring the animators here and give them a tour of the Bronx.
Oh.
So that they could really get a sense and a feeling of what they were animating. And I think that was very helpful. And it showed that Fred Rogers Productions and Ellen Doherty are really supportive of doing the most authentic, through me, vision of the Bronx.
So you think the show might move on to like other cities in New York, maybe? with
I
Alma?
I don't think so. I think that if we stay in the Bronx and be very specific, more people will like it. I don't know why that's the case, because why does everybody love Sesame Street? It's such a New York one place show, but the world likes it. And I think the more specific you are and the more you stay in your lane, the more people will like it. So I think we're going to stay. We might go to Queens, but Brooklyn, but stay in the general area of New York.
It would just be kind of cool to see Alma going down below underground to the subway, and getting on one of the
Yes.
subways.
Well, she does get on the subway. We have a show actually. You know how there's musicians on the subway that
Yeah,
pay, I don't know if you come to New York.
I've been, yes.
Yes, well, we have a show actually where the great Esperanza Spalding, the bass player, is a guest musician, and she plays one of the musicians that's playing on the subway along with Alma's family. And there's a kind of a wild goose chase episode, and we see all of the different musicians that play in New York. So we have a lot of episodes that actually do take place in the subway.
All right, cool. Awesome. And now tell our viewers about Sesame Street days.
Oh my goodness, Sesame Street was a wonderful, exciting roller coaster. It was a groundbreaking show, as you know. It was a perfect storm of mission and Jim Henson and creativity. It came out of the civil rights movement. So you could imagine how exciting it was for me when I was a young girl, coming of age, becoming aware of the world around me, becoming of the ills of society, and then landing on a show like Sesame Street, which was trying to do a lot to alleviate many of those ills. So it was very exciting.
What was it like working with Big Bird?
Oh, Big Bird, he's a terrific person. What you see is what you got. Carol Spinney was exactly like Big Bird. He also played Oscar the Grouch, which is interesting because they are very different personalities. They're like two sides of a coin. And I think I could solve the problems of the world. But I'll always be known for knowing Big Bird.
That's so cool. Oh, thanks for sharing that. Well, like I said, once again, thank you for being with us here at the Hollywood Times. We're at the Hollywood Times today, and we will have this up for you. We also will put it on our YouTube channel, Hollywood Times Official.
Okay, great. Thanks so much. Nice talking to you.
Nice talking to you.